this question about how do we, in my language, love up your inner critic, how do we do that, is a really profound one, and one that many of us struggle with. So here's what I do. The very first piece is I see my inner critic as another human being living inside of me that has universal human needs: to be seen, to be known, to be heard, to have a sense of belonging, and to have some meaning and purpose. So let's first, I usually just disidentify in a way from the inner critic, and I begin working with that part of me in the same nonviolent, relational, compassionate way that I recommend we work with everything, right? And often that means slowing down to just sit and listen to what my inner critic is saying. So what I might do is I might make a bullet point of, like you started doing, because you're like already, you've got a lot of insight already. You already know what your inner critic sounds like. It sounds like, oh, I didn't solve their problems. The conversation was not enough fun. So I'm going to bullet point those. Everything that I'm telling myself, everything that's coming up, right? And then I'm going to translate every single one of those criticisms into what is this inner critic really going to bat for. So I'm going to do a nonviolent communication practice of translating the judgment into the underlying feelings and needs and how that might sound. So if I'm saying, oh, the problem is I didn't solve their problems, this is my judgment. What might I be feeling when I'm thinking that? Well, I might be feeling anxious, or I might be feeling alert, or I might be feeling a longing, or I might be feeling fearful, or I might be go through the feelings lists and figure out what are the feelings, and then what is the need. And another way that I like thinking about what is the need is, what is the value? What am I longing for more of? So if I'm worrying, maybe I'm feeling worried that I didn't solve their problems, maybe I have a real longing for meaningful contribution to the people that I care about. So when I take that judgment, I didn't solve their problems, which is from the what is wrong, mindset, and I translate that into, oh, I'm feeling worried and a little unsettled because I really long to contribute to people in a meaningful way. Now I'm a layer underneath the judgment in what, Marshall Rosenberg used to call sort of the aliveness, the relationality, the actual, like, what's really going on underneath the judgment. What is that inner critic? What is the value that this inner critic is going to bat for? And when I realize, oh, I'm feeling worried because I want meaningful contribution, then I ask, well, what is one next step for me to figure out whether my contributions were meaningful or not? What is one thing that is 100% in my control that I could do that helps me meet this need that I'm worrying about? I might loop back to someone and say, hey, I was thinking about this conversation and I really want to show up in ways that are meaningful and actually a contribution. Did the way I show up work or not? What would you have preferred? Was there something you wanted me to say that I didn't say? Was there something you were needing that I wasn't tuning into? Like, I want to just debrief how that went, because I want to show you what's in my heart, right? What is in my heart, and this is what the inner critic is trying to get us to in these tragic ways, is this real desire to connect with you in a way that works for both of us. So that would be one. Or if it was like, I was not enough fun, what's my feeling underneath that? Am I feeling disappointed? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling worried? And if it's like not enough fun, what's that judgment telling me about what it is that I'm valuing? I want things to be playful between us. I want our interactions to feel light and easy and harmonious. Are they? And again, when I know what I'm feeling and what I'm needing, then I can always loop back to the other person if I want to. Sometimes I don't want to bring it up in that sense. Now, let's say I don't want to loop back to the other person because that's a little bit too vulnerable. Then I just stay with myself and I ground myself in how lovely that these are the things that I'm caring about. And I make it a practice to start undoing. This is a unwinding and unlearning. It's somebody else, Pamela, was asking today about how NVC interacts with other things. And I'm going to talk about it, I think, a little bit as I'm going, that, like in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, there's one of the techniques is thought stopping. And, what I would recommend with an inner critic is we don't want to suppress it. We don't want to reject it. We don't want to other it. We don't want an enemy image. We want to really see and hear and integrate and love the inner critic and then teach it. It's all about learning and growth in my world. And then we teach it a better way to go after what it thinks it needs, because inner critics usually develop in childhood as a way, like they're the voice of how we're trying to help ourselves learn and grow. Unfortunately, we often internalize voices that were mean. And so we're unlearning the mean, harsh, punitive stuff, which actually gets in the way of learning and growth. And we're sort of extracting the essence of what is important, stopping the what is wrong, mean, harsh behavior, and then practicing our way into a much kinder way of harvesting what's important here.